A 20-year plan finally materialized for the remote Pacific atoll of Niue when its state-of-the-art tide gauge was officially launched in Alofi on 5th November. This impressive structure, funded by the Government of Australia, will provide critical weather and sea level information not only for the country known as the Rock of Polynesia, but the entire Pacific region as well.
We now contribute to the Pacific Tsunami Warning System in a disaster planning for the region. We now have accurate and precise sea level data that can be used to produce tide predictions and monitor long-term sea level rise. The tide gauge is also accompanied by a Geoscience Australia Earth monitoring technology using the global navigation satellite system. This high-tech system helps Niue to understand its land movement as well as sea level rise.
Niue's tide gauge is the most technically advanced of all the 14 gauges in the Australian-funded Pacific Tide Gauge Network and was made possible through the collaborative effort between the Niue government, private contractors, specialist science and engineering staff from the Australian Bureau of Meteorology, Geoscience Australia and the Pacific Community SPC.
SPC is not only a partner in the sea level monitoring project, but a key user of the data. I cannot overemphasize how important the data is from this network. In the past few years alone, we have used it to model tsunamis in Nuku'alofa, upgrade navigational charts in Port Vila and Luganville, develop pilot training simulation for Suva Harbour, model the effects of ocean inundation on groundwater in Kiribati, and to delimit maritime zones and boundaries across the region.
But I think ultimately we all recognise that through this investment, the Pacific community, Niue, Australia, all of us together will be better as a consequence of this structure that's been built and the information that we glean from it, and more importantly, the way in which we use that data to make sure we have a more resilient, more economically diverse, broader and deeper economic agenda throughout the Pacific.
Niue's Director of Meteorology was instrumental in initiating the tide gauge request 20 years ago, and that has finally come to fruition on the eve of his retirement.
I want the people of Niue to look after. It's not the med-service equipment, it's the tide gauge for Niue, as long as it stays on the wharf for many, many years.
Niue's tide gauge will also provide vital information critical for decision-making in key sectors such as tourism, agriculture, infrastructure and fisheries. Lauren Robinson, SPC News.